Hello and welcome to Comedy in a Nutshell. I'm your host Mark Decano, and here I invite jesters, jokesters and emotionally fragile raconteurs to come and unravel the epistemological enigma of laughter. Join us as we spelunk the metaphysical crevices of stand-up, where punchlines are therapy, irony is currency, and timing is everything. I'm the comedy nerd who's seen more than 1,800 different comedians perform live comedy, and you can find out more about my journey in comedy fandom on my website, thecomedynerd.com. Please also take a moment to like, subscribe, rate, review and share the podcast. Thank you. My guest this episode has an eclectic CV including such diverse elements as bartender, burlesque dancer, writer, producer and immigration lawyer. But I know her best as a stand-up comedian and as patron of the Leicester Comedy Festival. And her name has become synonymous with Comedy Virgins, the open mic night at her home port of the Cavendish Arms in Stockwell, South London. It's comedian Sikisa. Do you remember comedy as being a big influence on you early on?
I didn't watch stand-up growing up. It was sitcoms and sketch shows that I grew up watching.
Yeah.
So Keeping Up Appearances, Last of a Summer Wine were the two shows that really stuck in my head growing up, as well as like Ab Fab and like Vicar Dibley, Red Dwarf, because my dad's a comic book / science nerd. So like Red Dwarf was very much like in my vicinity when I was growing up.
Yeah.
But I never really watched stand-up or understood stand-up probably till I was like 20. And then it was Def Jam comedy.
Yes. Discovering that then, did that suddenly have a big impact on you and the way you looked at comedy as a thing?
No, not really. I just thought it was funny. Yes. It was like Def Jam comedy and Eddie Murphy's Raw.
Yeah.
Like, I can still watch Eddie Murphy Raw, even though in the context of some of the things he says is probably politically incorrect nowadays.
Yeah.
But I still find, if you put it as the show for what it is, it's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. So those shows when I was growing up, it kind of was weird to see, for me, Black people being able to be themselves and to say whatever they wanted, to have no restriction. And it was obviously quite freeing to watch that. But I never really was interested in like performing stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
I just always enjoyed like watching it. So
what was it that changed your mind and got you on the stage?
I work in a pub, which I notoriously talk about quite a lot.
Yeah.
So I've talked about it over the years. People are probably bored of it. It's the Cavendish Arms. Yes. I work in a pub in Stockwell and have done since I was 19. And one day behind the bar, probably like 10 years ago, my boss told me I'm slightly funny. Why don't I give stand-up comedy a go? Because I used to just be behind the bar, watching comics come through, have a little chin wag with them, talk about what they're looking forward to the set. And I just people know me as having too much energy, and I would have the energy behind the bar. So I was trying to make people like happy, just make them feel a little bit more comfortable when they came on stage. But also, I was never good at public speaking. It was never really in my intention. I've never been interested in public speaking. This is why I never became a barrister. Just never was intending to do public speaking. So just me being like authentically myself behind the bar just kind of got people's attention.
Yeah.
With like in them being like, you should try, give it a go. And obviously like at that time, people like Sindhu V, Tez Ilyas, Dame Baptiste, a lot of those people were coming through the pub. So seeing them in their early stages was obviously not knowing what they will become now, like what comedy would become in this day and age, was just kind of like, okay, that's quite cool.
Yeah. So how do you remember your first gig?
Shit, it was crap. Oh my God. I did not write any jokes. I remember going on stage and talking about lions for about 4 minutes and trying to riff on lines. And the reason why it came to me in that kind of way was because this is going to sound like I was trying to like steal material, but I wasn't. Cat Williams, who at the time his first 3 specials are probably my favorite specials ever. I could watch them all day, every day. He did this bit about lions that was just like so funny, so great, and so like relatable. And I was like, I could just do that. I could just like incorporate that, but like in a British way. And it was not me trying to steal his jokes. It was me just being like, I can riff about lions. Like, I can talk about shit out my mouth. I could do that. And it did not work. It did not work at all. Me just trying to riff it. I got some laughs because I think I was fully aware that I was not having jokes. So people laughed along with me in that kind of way.
Yeah.
But they didn't laugh because it was funny. I think they laughed because they were like, oh, at least she's giving it a go. And my personality was like carrying me through the set. But the set itself was not funny. Yeah, so that was the first time.
Yeah.
And then I didn't really do it again for like 6 months.
It's quite a rude awakening then, you think?
I didn't want to do it in the first place. Yeah, I didn't want to do it in the first place. Like, I did not want to be in that position in the first place. I just kind of felt peer pressured in. Everyone's like, you're funny. Do it. You do it. Do it. Yeah, certain things people, like, it's interesting when you talk to people nowadays about stand-up comedy or when they see you on stage, they either go, oh, that looks so hard. I could never do what you do. You're so brave to do it. Or you've got those people who are very much like, I could do that. And I'm like, if you think you could do it, you come give it a go. Come give it a go. It's the same thing how I feel about when people talk about wrestling. I'm like, you come give wrestling training a go. You come and do it. Yeah.
So as you started to do comedy more and more, did it reveal sort of any surprises to you then about what the reality of it meant?
Yeah, it did mean I had to really think about what joke writing was.
Mm-hmm.
And I never really grasped the concept of it really until like my 3rd or 4th year doing it.
Right.
Like I didn't really understand what the purpose of like jokes were or like how you write a joke properly. The first joke I ever wrote was in the pub toilet and it was my lemonade joke. It was the first ever joke I wrote and it was based off a true story. So I try and write jokes based off true stories. It's not me trying to be like telling the story. It's me telling the story but exaggerating it because I think if I exaggerate it, it's more funny, which most comedians will do. It's not me lying. It's just me exaggerating.
Yeah.
But when I was doing that, I would just say it in a way that I would normally tell someone if I was telling them the story, but like just being like a little bit more, giving it a bit more personality, a bit more pizzazz, make it a bit more entertaining, if you want to put it that way. So people were like caring about the story rather than just saying something boring. But it took me about 3 or 4 years to really grasp the concept of like writing jokes.
Right.
So now I feel like my first ever review was that she's got more personality than material. And that kind of threw me because I was like, why do I have to be like a solid joke writer in order for me to be funny? And it kind of like made me quite upset for quite a while. And then people were like, you can learn how to write jokes, but you can't make up personality, which is fair enough. And I think that's probably my personality has probably carried my career, but a lot of people's careers are carried by their personality.
Well, it's often said that sometimes a person might be a performer who writes rather than a writer who performs. Would you consider yourself in that sense then a performer who writes?
Yeah, I probably would. I think if anyone see me on stage will know that I am like to have a good time. Yeah. Especially if I'm emceeing, I don't know what's going to come out my mouth. So I don't know whether it's going to be funny or not. It's just going to come out my mouth. So I don't think especially if I'm emceeing, it's not an intention for it to be funny. It's just an intention for me to set up a room so everyone knows we're about to have comedy and have a good time. But it's not necessarily jokes are going to come out my mouth. It's just words. Words. So, yeah. And I think being a performer, I do think I always was a performer in terms of like me dancing. I always used to be a dancer when I was younger. Yeah. So performing was not the issue. Words were the issue for me. And I didn't realize how much the words were difficult for me probably until about 4 years ago. Or 5 years. Yeah, probably 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, talking about your personality on stage, are you mindful of the person that you are on stage? Is that, like you said about the exaggerating the situation, is that an exaggeration of you, or is that an honest reflection of who you are as a person?
No, it is an exaggeration of who I am. I think if I was that every day, I would have no friends. I would have no friends. I think me getting into stand-up comedy / performing and like working in the pub allowed me to be a bit more comfortable with who I am as a person.
Right.
I'm the only child, so I've always grown up a bit introverted, a bit shy. I've had issues being bullied when I was a kid. So having to like come on stage and like try and prove yourself to an audience was always the tough part. But then it took me about 2.5 years to figure out who I wanted to be or who I was on stage. And it just naturally came out. It wasn't forced or anything like that. It was just, I don't give a fuck. So it really just started to be, I don't care. This is me. I'm South London through and through. You're gonna get it. You're gonna like it, whether you like it or not. You're gonna get it. So this is what you're getting. You either accept it or you don't accept it. So, and I think I think if I was probably like a majority of the comedians out there, I would not be able to get away with certain things I get away with on stage if it wasn't this kind of persona. I don't think the certain people would be able to get away with certain things I say.
Are you more comfortable then, would you say, in the improvisational side of it? We talked about your writing a little bit, but when you get to MC, you get to react and to be more conversational and just respond to what people are saying or how they're answering questions. Are you more comfortable in that environment?
No, I wouldn't say I am, because you never know what someone's going to say to you.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'm as like, I get booked to MC shows quite a lot, and it's because of my personality. It's because of my energy.
Yes.
It's because I know how to set up a room properly, if you want to put it that way. She's very professional with her job. She's very professional. But I don't know sometimes, like sometimes you do speak to audience members where you're like, I can't go nowhere with this. I can't, how am I, then I'm stuck, you're stuck, we're all stuck. Now it's awkward. So sometimes you just never know what an audience member is going to say or how they're going to react to you, or especially because when you're emceeing, you are basically have to be there beginning, middle, and end. So if they don't like you from the start, then there's been times where I've been like, you don't like me, and then I have to come back on later on and I'm like, I don't want to have to try and win you over. That's hard. And then you be like, because your ego's like, I need to win you over. Then you try and win them over, and it still doesn't work. And you're like, fuck you lot, go away. Give you all my best stuff. It's still not working. That's your business. And then people will come up to you afterwards and be like, oh, I really enjoyed that. Well, can your face show it? Can you just show you were having a good time at least? Like, is this what happens when you're in Bury? I don't know. Just a prime example. I don't know. Don't know why Bury came. It happened recently.
So what is your comfort zone? Is it more doing the spots? Is it being able to do a full hour of material?
No, I like doing club spots because you do get to be able to like have fun and do your stuff.
Yeah. Sometimes
if I'm emceeing, people come up to me and go, oh, do you actually do the spots as well? Which I think is hilarious when people come up to MCs and ask them that question, like, oh, you're also a comedian? Yes, we're all comedians. They've just placed us in our skill sets. Okay, because there's some comedians that can't MC.
Yeah.
And there's some MCs that can't do sets, which is true.
Yeah.
I'm lucky I can get to do both. But yeah, I like to do sets because you do get to have you can do your jokes, and then you can also, if I do 30 minutes or like 25 minutes or like 40 minutes, you can still have fun with the audience and get to know them. Because sometimes my jokes will depend on an audience member interaction.
Right. What about your competitive side? You've done a number of competitions in the past, but how do you feel about competitions in general?
Hated them. I I understand it's something that we have to do in order for us to like progress. But I actually generally hated competitions. It made me feel something uncomfortable.
Right.
Like it just, there's something about it that I think it's that whole thing about being judged. I don't like. I know as audience members, or when you're in a comedy show, audience members will judge you anyway. And I say teach, it sounds really weird when I say that. I lead the lab at Soho Theatre about stand-up comedy.
Yep.
And I tell them the first thing that people are going to do within the first 10 seconds to you get on stage is judge you. But when it comes to a competition, it's completely different because there's a weird atmosphere around comedians and audience where the audience know that this is a competition, but the comedians also know this is a competition and they don't want to laugh at you. So there was something about it that just made me feel always uncomfortable. And I've won like one competition. I've been in the final of quite a few competitions. BBC is obviously the most tourist one for me, to be in that final, especially because the show wasn't about comedy, if you want to put it that way. It was mostly about your writing skills because it was put on the radio. It wasn't until the live show that it was the final. So, and at that time, I was in that weird limbo space where I didn't know whether this could be like comedy could be something more than just me having fun on stage. I didn't know that whether this would be like a job or something like that.
Yeah. So
I didn't really have that position to think about it in that sense of like, well, this is the jokes I've got. This is what you're going to get. And at that point, when you looked at who was in that lineup, especially like the semis and the semifinals, a lot of people I knew were great writers. And I knew them from the circuit. So I kind of went into it being like, well, you're just going to do you. But something about it made me like so anxious and so like uncomfortable to be on that stage, knowing that how someone was going to judge me for the material or things I said on stage. And obviously we couldn't swear, which was horrendous. Because two of my jokes at that point relied on the word bitch. And I was only allowed one bitch. And I was like, how am I going to pick between the two bitches? But anyway, it was hard. But yeah, I have not heard my semi-final in about 6 years, because the semi-final, I was generally very upset because I was ill. It was in Edinburgh at that point. I was ill, and you can hear towards the end of the set, my voice cracks because me and Heidi Reagan were both ill. We were backstage having honey lemon. We weren't talking. Like, we were just like trying to preserve as much energy as we can. We're both ridiculously ill. And you can hear during my rap, my voice goes. And like, I came off stage just in tears because I was just like, that was horrendous. Like, that was like, I was just like messed it up. Then to find out straight after, about 10 minutes later, that I was in the final was like such a different tear-jerking reaction. Oh my God, who did this? Why? Yeah. But then certain people's reaction to me getting into the final afterwards was also a bit like a punch in the face, because I had several people after me getting into the final being like, oh, the reason why you got into the final is that you were black. Well, and I was just like, wow, okay. And like, I do appreciate that how there is, how am I going to say it about, like, there is this weird, oh, you're in this position because of your skin color. You're in this position because of your gender. You're in this position because of your sexuality. There has been that game played in comedy. Right. And I don't think anyone will deny that at all. But at the same time, I think people have remained in positions because they've proven that they're talented. Like, I don't think I have, like, in the nicest possible way, I'm booked and blessed until the end of the year. Okay. I don't think I would be in that position where I'm not even the one emailing. If anything, I'm like, can you stop emailing? Okay. Don't stop emailing. I still need money. But I don't think I would be in that position. And it's not me bragging it. I'm just saying it. I wouldn't be in that position if I wasn't talented.
Yeah.
If I didn't have something to bring to the table.
Yeah.
So I think when you talk about the reasons why people are in certain spots or in positions, fair enough, you have to take into consider gender, race, sexuality, and anything else. But then you have to look at the fact that the talent overshines all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there a point at when you said to yourself that I am now a comedian?
I think BBC Awards was that point,
right?
Where I was like, oh, I'm actually a comedian now.
Yeah.
To have that to have that acknowledgement and acceptance, to know that what I was doing was right.
Yeah.
And that was liked by people was probably the flip point for me. And then I knew as time went on that I was becoming a better comedian because, for example, with my debut show, I got reviews. With my second show, I got higher reviews, more reviews. Also ended up in Day's top 5 jokes of the Fringe. Yeah. That was probably a great moment for me to be like, my joke is, and it was ended up like I had another joke ended up in like The Guardian or something like that. So I was like, this is crazy, like, because normally those jokes go to certain people. So it's normally the one-liners, and I was like, wow, 2 of my jokes at my show, not even 1, 2, right?
Well, you mentioned Edinburgh, so let's talk about Fringe. You're no stranger to Fringe at this point now, and you've got a new show coming out this year. How has your experience been of the festival?
Oh, yeah.
That great.
Yeah. So I recently had to talk about like certain things on because I'm patron. I'm a patron for Leicester Comedy Festival.
You are.
And we did this little talk along with like 2 other like reviewers about the impact reviews have on like the comedy industry. And from my personal point of view, Edinburgh has become a weird bubble. Like it used to be that you could come to Edinburgh, do a show or develop a show whilst in Edinburgh. If you got reviews, it wasn't seen as a big thing, and you could develop yourself as a comedian. It's also a place as if you're a newbie, you would be seen, and potentially your career would be expanded. But it also was available to everyone. Now, the Fringe over the last few years has become like something that people feel like they have to do in order for their careers to move forward, but also has become such a money train where comedians are losing money to put on their art to people that are not genuine or potentially their audience. I loved my debut show. I loved where I did it. And I've always wanted to do my debut at the Pleasance, and I was so happy and grateful to be able to do it. But I knew going into it that 60% of the time, the audience in that room was not going to be my audience. And whilst it got great reviews and it sold out and it eventually got me live at Apollo, I feel like someday I didn't want to be there. And me and another comedian, Josh Jones, we got very close during that time because we were both debuting. We were both also being followed around Edinburgh by Stuart Laws doing this stupid documentary about comedians debuting in Edinburgh Fringe, and I cry in a lot of it. Just everywhere I turned, he was just there with a camera. But anyway, it's a great documentary. People should watch it anyway.
Definitely.
But going into the debut straight out of the pandemic, where a lot of us were debuting out of the pandemic. It was difficult as a working class comedian in that situation. I did my second show because I wanted to do my second show. I don't think I was pushed into doing my second show.
Right.
I did my second show because I wanted to do my second show. And I didn't want it to be anything apart from what I wanted it to be. And I think I achieved that. Could the show been better? Sure. All my shows could have been better. But that's the whole point of going to Fringe. It's that you learn certain things. But there is this weird, for me personally, and I'm sure quite a lot of comedians have this because I've spoken to them about this. We have this weird anxiety about the Fringe now, where it's meant to be an enjoyable place. Enjoyable for you to do your show to different audiences every day, for you to develop as a comedian. It's become this, who's the best? Who is the comedians? Who is the Edinburgh Fringe comedian? Who's getting all the stars? Who's getting all the hype and ratings? Who can afford the most PR? So it's all of that, and it's not nice to be in sometimes, to be in that machine, because it becomes you comparing yourself to other people where we're all individual comedians who are all talented in our own ways.
Yep.
And there are pros and cons to the Fringe, but it's become mostly cons. To the point where just don't quote me on this, but this probably will be my last full Fringe.
Right.
Because it's expensive.
Yes.
For the whole month. Accommodation, PR, billboards, trying to make money at the Fringe. I'd probably do it in London.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it comes to a question where you're like, well, what's the point? What's the point of me doing this?
Yeah, for sure. This is something I talk about quite a lot with comedians about that. The Edinburgh Fringe is now such a, like you say, it's a money pit. It is about introducing yourself to the industry, but the industry has to go where the talent is. So if the talent doesn't go, they'll have to follow you around. For example, as you say, you're a patron of Leicester, and you can feel in the air how much more relaxed it is.
Yeah, because like festivals, like you say, like Leicester as well as MacFest, like it's like so fun, so relaxing, no pressure. You could just go and do your show to audience members who may have seen you before, who may not have seen you before. And there's like, when I did my shows at Leicester and Mac, Leicester I had so much fun with. And before that, I had 2 previews where I was putting so much pressure on myself. I was like, it's February. Go to Leicester, have so much fun. I had a great time. Mac was the same. I enjoyed it so well, even though it was a work in progress. So even some of the jokes wasn't like working, or I'm still trying to figure out the show and the structure and whatever.
Yeah.
I still had the best time.
Yeah. Well, given all of that,
I'm going again.
Your upcoming Fringe.
I'm going again.
Yeah,
I'm going again.
Yeah, and I'm going to be there all month. So I agree. I agree with you 100%. And yes, I will be there the whole time as well. So tell me all about the upcoming show.
The show is called Serving Justice. And it's a show that in the nicest possible way, I think a lot of people look at my life on paper and social media and think my life is going great. They're like, you've done some amazing things. You should be grateful for the things you've got. You should be grateful for the things you have. And I'm like, no, my life is not great. No. So I'm trying to be a bit more honest about what people perceive me as, if you want to put it at that. But also, I'm talking about why I love wrestling and why people need to be into wrestling. Get into wrestling. It's great. Also, I'm trying my best to talk more about immigration. I think immigration's had a bad rep especially in the last 5-6 years. In the last 2 weeks, the news has made my job a little bit more difficult. I've had to do a lot of reassurance at this moment in time. So the government is very much like, we need to crack down on immigration. And I'm very much like, they just keep saying like things like, oh, we're full, it's too packed. And I'm like, well, you've got more room for prep. So that makes no sense. It makes no sense. How have we got room for prep, but not people? Yeah. But so I'm talking more about immigration and also like certain things that I've realized about myself over the last couple of years. So I'm not trying to compare my life to like immigrants or asylum seekers, but I'm trying to have a bit more of a don't judge a book by cover kind of situation. Yeah.
Because listeners to this who might know you as a comedian may not know that you are an immigration lawyer, although it does come up in your sets.
So... people don't believe me, that's why. See you on stage, they were like, she can't be the person that representing people that come into this country. And I'm like, yes, I have. And I've changed the law. And what?
So is comedy now more about the things that you can change? Is it becoming more about comedy as a messenger, as a communications tool for ideas, or is it still about having fun as much as it might have once been?
I'm trying not to get drawn into this competitiveness that comedy sometimes has, especially in London.
Sure.
I wanted to go back to the things I wanted to talk about, which is myself, of course, partying, wrestling, dick, and to give people a better understanding about immigration. I've never saw myself as a preacher. I've never seen myself as a political comedian, but I think people should not talk about things they don't have an understanding about. And if you have not studied law or done 15 years working in law, don't try and tell me about my job. Or don't tell me about an immigrant's life that you have no understanding about in terms of why they've come over here or how they came over here, how long it took them to come over here, and the things they got through and had to do in order for them to get to this country.
Yep.
Regardless of whether it's as a student or as a spouse or as worker or as an asylum seeker. Don't talk about it unless you've been through it. Because there's certain misconceptions that people still have to this day and age. Things like, oh, they just come over here and claiming benefits. No. Where did you get that idea from? That's not how it works. You are the one claiming benefits. Okay. Yeah, so it's me just giving people a better understanding about certain things.
Yeah. Do you still watch comedy as an entertainment for yourself?
It depends on what it is. I can't watch stand-up anymore.
Right.
Because unless it's like a friend that I've not seen in ages, like to go and support their show, or like, yeah, I can't watch stand-up really anymore. I've got to see something that's like something I've not seen before. If I'm going to a comedy show, it has to be, I've either got a free ticket or it's something that I really wanted to see. For example, like I saw Joe Walter Kent show. Yeah. It's not really a stand-up show, but I saw it at Soho Theatre.
Yes.
Hadn't seen the show before. I couldn't see it in Edinburgh because it was sold out every single day. But I really wanted to see him. And because I saw him when I judged his heat at BBC Awards.
Yes.
And I remember sitting in that heat being like, well, the cameras are on you. You look stunning. Just do your polite laugh every time someone's on a stage. And I'd seen some of the acts before, so I knew kind of the set. And if I've seen the set before, it doesn't really make me laugh again because I've seen it several times. I'm sure people feel the same way about me, unless you've changed it out. Like it doesn't, for me personally, it doesn't, I think it's because I've seen so much comedy. Yeah. Probably why. But Joe came on last and oh my God, like it was something I hadn't seen for ages.
Yeah.
It was new. It was fresh. I literally, at one point, nearly fell off my chair. And I did such ugly laughing. I literally said to the producers, can we just try and cut all of that out? Because I watched it back just to make sure they had didn't make me seem so howly ugly, but it was great. So I try to avoid, if I'm going out to go and watch stand-up comedy or comedy, unless it's something different, something unique, something I've not seen before, something I really want to see. I normally go and watch cabaret shows or wrestling.
Yeah. If you see something that you haven't seen and it affects you the way that Joe's show did, does that reinvigorate you, re-inspire you in any way?
It does, but I can't, and it's not, it does inspire me, but it's not inspiring me to be like that person.
No.
Because that person is unique. I'm unique. There's sometimes I see people, especially newbies on stage, who I'm like, why are you trying to be that comedian? You could tell that they're trying to incorporate a certain comedian style, and you're like, that's not authentic.
Yeah.
I think the reason and again, this is not to brag, but I think the reason what I do quite well is because I'm authentically me.
Yes.
Even though I'm an exaggeration of who I am, I'm still authentically me.
Yeah.
So I think when it comes to stand-up, people need to understand that for them to get further, or to be able to like progress in the scene. It's about evolution, it's about change, but it's also about being authentically yourself. It's being Madonna. Being Madonna. Get yourself a 29-year-old boyfriend. Be Madonna.
Duly noted. Do you think that there's a single lesson that you've learned so far that maybe you would tell your younger self, or that you would tell up-and-coming comedians, that something that's really drives you forward and informs your philosophy?
Number one, probably I should have done stand-up earlier. I'd probably got it until way too late. Number two, be authentically yourself.
Yes.
Number three, don't listen to no one but yourself. I think people know who they are as people. Be authentically yourself.
Yeah.
I try to live that on a day-to-day basis of like, I don't give two fucks. This is me. I'm gonna do me. I don't care what you think. Like I don't wear certain things on stage. I'm gonna dress how I want to dress on that day. Sometimes I dress up. Sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
If I can't be asked, I can't be asked. So I think don't try too hard. I think certain people, well, especially me, at one point I was just trying too hard, and I didn't know what was going to like stick or not stick. I think also I would tell myself to get on social media earlier. I think social media has become such a big thing. It's become like a second job. And it's annoying. I'm not going to lie. It is annoying. But I do like being able to interact with audience members and like show them my stuff. But I feel like nowadays social media has become a platform where in order for you to be seen by the industry, you have to have a certain amount of followers, which is annoying.
Yeah. You have done a lot: podcasting, stand-up, MCing, burlesque, the law, and so on and so on.
Too much.
Is there anything you haven't yet done that you might get excited about, do you think?
I would have loved to have been like a proper cabaret performer, much like Reuben K. Reuben K is someone I've watched since I was like probably like 25, 26, on the cabaret circuit. And I've always been in awe of what they do. And I've been lucky enough to be like on their shows for their late night shows, and perform, and like for them to acknowledge me and like tell me that I'm good at what I do is obviously great. But they can sing and they can perform and they can act, and it's great. And I can't sing. It's one of the things I can't do. Someone said to me, if I could sing, I would kill everyone. As in like, everyone would not have, if I could sing, everyone would not have a career. I was like, that's a bit harsh. That's too much. That's too much. But I can't sing. I genuinely can't sing. So like, this is why if I'm like so I normally don't host cabaret shows because I can't sing.
What about setting yourself targets then, like for shows that you want to be on, or places you want to perform, people you want to perform with? Do you have objectives for yourself?
I don't actually. There's certain things I would love to be able to do, which is like get something commissioned relating to immigration. Me talking about immigration, but in a comedy sense. I would love to have a sitcom. I think my life is amazing, and I think it's funny. I think me having a sitcom. I've written a sitcom. I've written 2 sitcoms, 3 sitcoms. I've written, but one of them is about like having a double life, and like because I try to keep both worlds quite separate. Sometimes it's difficult because I've just started. I started a new job at the beginning of this year, and I've kept only my team know that I do stand-up comedy. They never see me. I don't know if they've Googled me or whatever. But someone from a different department found out and then Googled me. And then she's very enthusiastic now. And I'm like, oh no, you're going to tell everyone. So I try and keep them very separate because they are 2 different parts of me.
Yes.
It's two different sides of who I am as a person. And I describe myself as an introvert extrovert because I think that really just sums up who I am. And a lot of the time, I'm not going to lie, I do want to sleep. Let me see. But I do want to, I think being able to perform at the Palladium, either the Palladium or my preference would be the O2 Brixton. Because it'll be home, it'll be South London.
Yeah.
To be able to sell that out would be the dream. But I think to be able to have some sort of recognition and acknowledgement would be nice for me. To know that I don't have to keep hustling, if you want to put it that way.
What do you think then have been your best and worst single experiences in comedy?
I think the best one would be live at Apollo. I think that is that's always going to be my favorite experience, even if I did it with a concussion. Yeah. So there was an accident that happened before the show involving the sign.
Yeah.
So ended up having a concussion, but I had the best time of my life, and the set went down well. I looked stunning. Everyone was laughing. I got 2 applause breaks. I mean, what else could I ask for my first ever Apollo? And then worst, what would be a worst moment in comedy? I think any moment where I feel defeated by this industry. And sometimes it happens on a regular basis. And I just have to pick myself up and remember it's a new day and remember who I am. But there are some days that this industry, on an honest level, breaks me down. So it's sometimes hard to be in this industry, but then I have to remember why am I still doing it. So those are probably my worst moments.
Yeah.
Just be like, fuck everyone. Fuck all the reviewers. Hate you. Hate this industry. Why am I not on that show? Yeah.
Have you done any very important shows like television or competition where you weren't medically incapacitated in some way?
I've been on quite a few shows. Well, Sorry I Didn't Know, I think, was a very important show for me.
Right. Sorry
I Didn't Know is on ITV, and to have, I think it was 90 or 80%, or probably even more than 90% of the staff being Black was so important. To be able to go into a makeup room and for them to do my hair, have no problems with it, to style my hair in a way that they knew how to deal with it, rather than me being I'm just going to do it myself, and do my makeup and feel comfortable is a blessing. So obviously those shows are rare in occurrence, but sometimes I still go on sets and there is no people of color makeup wise. And I'm like, you've got at least 4 people here who are people of color, who are your talent, and you don't have any. There's loads of makeup artists in London. Yeah. You couldn't find one person of color? One? There's 4 on Glow Up, and I was watching that the other day on BBC. Come on now.
Sikisa, how can we find out about you and where we can come and see you performing?
You can find me on Instagram, because that's where I live. On Instagram, Sikisa Comedy. Or if you type in Twix Comedy, Twix like the chocolate. There's another Twix Comedy page. I don't know who this bitch is. It's not me. It's me with a lovely face. Okay, lovely. So Sikisa Comedy or Twix Comedy, Sikisa. I have got a website, sikisacomedy.com. I've bought both domains, which is weird because who else is going to have a Sikisa Comedy page? But yes, sikisacomedy.com. I do have TikTok because you have to have that now in this day and age. I also have a podcast, Sikisa. Come on now. Of course you're going to have a podcast. Yes, I do. It's Wrestle Club UK podcast. If you like wrestling or if you don't know wrestling, come and listen to the podcast. It's Wrestle Club UK podcast. Apart from that, come find me at the Fringe. I'm at Monkey Barrel at 5:50 every single day, apart from the 11th, where I will be sleeping.
And so I asked my final question I ask all of my guests. How would you sum up comedy in a nutshell?
I would sum up comedy in a nutshell as being deliriously crazy funny. It's a whole new world that you never know what's going to happen. But in a nutshell, it's a whole new world. It's a different world. Actually, let's rephrase that. It's a delirious world. There you go.
Sikisa, thank you so much for being my guest. It's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you.
No, thank you.